Barad-Dur is the second LEGO icon set released in the past 2 years. Saying this is an incredible build would still be an understatement, but that isn't the question I want to answer today. Today I want to know how this set fares in comparison to its predecessor, Rivendell, in aspects like minifigures, build experience, the build itself, and value. Let's get into it. Now, this set has a good figure selection, period. There are obvious standouts, but even outside of that, every single other figure is decent at least. In my opinion, Gollum is the weakest of all these minifigs. He's got an entirely new mold, even if it's not immediately recognizable, and it is better than the old one. Where this figure falters though is the face. LEGO switched from borderline realistic / detailed eyes to monochrome eyes in the last years, and while I'm generally a fan of that approach, I don't think it does Gollum any good. His huge eyes are essential to his character design, and in this case, I just feel like the old one did it significantly better. Then there's Frodo and Sam again. These two are exactly the same ones that appeared in Rivendell in 2023, the only difference being the omission of capes this time. I'm kinda split on these figures, since they aren't all that accurate to their appearance in Mordor, and more specifically in Mount Doom. If these minifigs could have depicted their weathered looks with torn clothes and muddy faces, or even better, shown these hobbits in their orc disguises, they would have been way better. On the other hand though, these figures aren't bad by any means, and LEGO did in fact include parts of their orc disguise being the helmets. It is nice to get these pieces, especially because they are such odd molds, and if you don't feel like putting them on Frodo and Sam, you can also just take any other orc and give it to them if you want to diversify your orc army or whatever. Also, Sam's accessories are pretty dope. I hate the piece they used for Sting, cause there is an actual mold for the sword, I'ma throw it up on screen right now, but getting it in some form is nice, and the vial he got from Galadriel is a nice addition too. We've also got a whole horde of orcs in this set. These are all the unnamed ones, and let me tell you something, these are fire. I think the old orcs from the original 2012 to 2014 themes weren't bad in any way, but these just take it to a whole new level. They've all got such a crazy number of details collectively that it doesn't even matter when you find out these are all different as well, and not a single one is completely the same. The orc chef, for example, uses a gunmetal grey base with red as a secondary color. We've got toe, hip and back printing, but the red durag is obviously the most eye-catching. As we look at the next orc, you can recognize that he's got the same legs as the first, but a completely different torso. The plating of his armor is different, and instead of red, this figure uses brown as an addition to its color scheme. We've also got a completely new helmet mold, of which you get a spare one too in this set, in case you want to equip some other orc with it. For the first time since 2012, we're getting green orcs as well in this set, and once again, the detailing here is incredible. This figure uses a different set of legs than the last two, implementing some of the olive green, while still giving us toe and hip printing. The furrier torso also sets this guy apart from the last two figures, and more importantly, the other green orc. The plating on this orc's torso is obviously not the same as on the last, despite everything else matching. But just in case the similar face would bother you, this figure has an alternative one to even further differentiate the orcs. Now, I mentioned there being one named orc, and that is Gothmog. I was kinda surprised to see him in the set, given that we never see him anywhere near Barad-Dur in the movies really. I would have absolutely expected him in a Minas Tirith set, but I do think it's awesome that he was included here. He's one of the few named orcs that play a bigger role in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I think LEGO really delivered with this minifig. The standout is obviously the printed chest piece, which adds a metric ton of detail to this figure, and without the printing it really wouldn't work. Just for comparison, I put one of the regular unprinted ones on him, and yeah, you can see how much this figure is dragged down. And the chest piece was necessary given Gothmog's physicality from the movie, so printing here really was essential. The face is also just extremely ugly and perfectly fits the in-universe counterpart, and you know, I guess at some point it was just time to get a minifig based off Harvey Weinstein. And then we get to the highlights of this figure selection, being the mouth of Sauron and Sauron himself of course. The mouth of Sauron has not appeared in any set since 2013, and while it may not be the most important character, it really is awesome to have him in the set again. While his general outfit is nothing to blow your mind, the focus is obviously on his fantastic helmet mold. It is extremely detailed and matches his movie look to a T, only leaving his mouth exposed. The only complaint I have is that I wish the piece was solid plastic. It's made out of this rubbery material, which isn't bad by any means, but a solid piece is always better in my opinion. Same goes for Sauron. His helmet is made of rubber, but nonetheless it looks amazing. This is the imposing look that Sauron really needed, especially to match the rest of his armor. The printing on him is mind-boggling because of just how detailed it is, and in that area I do not have a single complaint. I do have a bit of an issue with the size of this figure though. It's nothing major, but Sauron is really a bigger character. He's one of the most powerful Maya after all. Maybe equipping him with the avatar arms and legs would have fixed this issue, but I'm not entirely sure, since it would also make him really lanky. So the selection here is wonderful and absolutely on par with Rivendell's. It could have certainly been larger, but I truly cannot complain. Now, building this set was generally a pleasant experience. You wouldn't be faulted to think that it could get infuriating at times because of all the black bricks, but that part is actually surprisingly chill. The foundation of this whole build was probably the most annoying to build and took the longest as well for me. Other than that, when finishing up the interior of the first and second level of the build, there were some moments where you had to place some bricks in pretty tight areas, which was annoying, but outside of those things, the building experience was quite nice. It flowed well through the entire process, thanks to it being divided into 3 sections as well, and in total it took me about 10 hours to build, but I took my time as well. Again, this was on par with Rivendell. Rivendell would have definitely been nicer overall, but certain areas, mainly the roof on that thing, were just a pain to build. So we continue with a 2-all draw. Now for the build itself. This may be the most imposing LEGO set I've ever seen in person. Other LEGO sets have been more intricate and everything for sure, but few manage atmosphere and size this well. This set is simply said huge. At a height of 83 centimeters, this is the 6th tallest set ever, but unlike a set like the NASA Apollo 7 5, it's also got a really big base. In width, it comes out to 45 centimeters, which is more than half of Rivendell's, and it's a total of 30 centimeters deep. But the size alone isn't the thing that makes the set so impressive. Only in combination with the threatening, mostly black style of construction does this build achieve its dark atmosphere. LEGO worked hard on keeping the amount of black bricks at bay here, the most obvious part playing the rock formation here wrapping around the tower. Now, while I heard some people critique it for kinda breaking up the build, I don't actually have an issue with it since it is accurate to the source material. I agree though that the colors chosen aren't brilliant. In my opinion, they should have stuck to light and dark rays since those colors are the most present on the Ithered Lithwi. I'm generally not the biggest fan of all the tan and nougat inclusion here. I think sticking to greys, black and orange/red for the lava would have massively benefited this set. There is one area I think where it was used brilliantly, but I'll get to that in the end. In their pursuit of using different colors, LEGO also included some blue and grey pieces meant to be hidden behind the exterior, but they actually shine through. This wouldn't be a huge issue if those colors were browns, dark greys or something to the like, but these blue pieces right here shine through like a sore thumb, so that's something that should have absolutely been fixed. But leaving the colors behind us for a moment, the exterior of this build is simply superb. The building techniques used here are brilliant, whether it's the snot technique used to create all the rockwork, or the way all these different pieces were utilized to create certain details on the tower. For example, we've got A-wing pieces right here to create a doorway, or the upside down blades next to the spears below the actual eye. I built Rivendell last year and I love that set, it's perfect in my opinion, but it did not make me as excited for the future of LEGO Lord of the Rings as this set. It feels massive. The way the exterior is built and the sheer size of the set makes me incredibly thrilled for what a huge Minas Tirith or Helm's Deep could look like, and for that I simply have to commend this build. But of course, LEGO also included an interior here. Since showing you all these levels like this would be, plainly said, a pain in the ass, we're now going to disassemble the set with relative ease, thank god. LEGO did not have an easy job with the set, we do not get to see any part of Barad-Dur's interior in the movie, so they really had to improvise here. The first level consists of a forge and a lava pit. As you can see, my man is not holding up particularly well right here, and by turning this wheel, you can actually even lower him further towards the lava. Other than that, a bunch of things like an anvil, spare helmets and shields are spread through the room, but most of the space is taken up by this apparatus in the middle. Whether you believe it or not, this whole setup is just to open the door, but it's pretty impressive. If you turn this brick on the outside here, the doors just open on their own and allow for entrance to Barad-Dur. It's an incredible mechanism and it is a bit of a wow factor. Outside of that, the only other space down here is the little cave for Gollum to be imprisoned in when he's not being tortured by Sauron right now. Above the dungeon and forge, we've got the dining hall. Does it make sense for orcs to have a proper dining room? Probably not. I guess you could argue that the Black Númenóreans would need somewhere to eat as well, or if Sauron was to trade with the Easterlings, a place like this would be useful, but truly, this does feel like a filler room. It's nicely designed and, hey, completely honest, I don't have a clue what else you could have put in here, but it's definitely more of a gimmick room. Above that, we've got Sauron's throne room. While we don't have a particular description of a room like this anywhere, it makes complete sense in my opinion, and I'm glad that we finally got to see Sauron's actual banner here too. In the books, the Eye of Sauron was more sigil than an actual thing looming over Mordor, so getting banners of that here is dope. We've also got another play feature in this area. If you pull this little knob on the bottom, the throne splits into two and reveals a hidden room behind it. The sides hold some sticker detailing, but the most interesting thing is the Palantir revealed in the center. This is the same Palantir used by Sauron to influence Denethor, even if it was to no avail, and Saruman with great success. Shown on the Palantir are two different images. One is of the Burning Shire and the other shows the White Tree of Gondor. Now I'm going to go on a little tangent right here about how this set really just feels like a love letter to Lord of the Rings. I left out some minor details previously to show you right now, but there are a bunch of things like this palantir right here which pay homage to different scenes from the Middle-earth saga. In the dining room, for example, there's this chalkboard with the word menu written on it and an image of some meat. A level below you can pull out a hidden compartment to reveal a giant spider, likely an offspring of Shelob, who's guarding the mountain path of Isildur. Another of these hidden compartments can be found on the second level, revealing depictions of the 3 elven rings. While I don't know why these would be hanging around the wall, it does make sense for Sauron to have these, since he, as Anethar, deceived the elves into creating all the rings of power. Rising even further up, both the little chamber and the library of Brotherhood are full of Easter eggs as well. Now these rooms do seem very random here, and maybe better ideas than these tutorials existed, but they are cool nonetheless. Down here you've got a mithril coat, for example, as well as a miniature version of a fell beast. I don't know why Sauron would have that in here, but he created them, so oh well. Above it we've got a picture of him presenting the One Ring, and if we skip to the next level there's actually a copy of the ring verse from the very beginning of Lord of the Rings. You can see the numbers on it, and while the text isn't recognizable, it's clearly supposed to show the 3 rings for the elven kings, the 7 for the dwarven lords, and 9 for mortal man, as well as the 1 to rule them all. Also, you can turn the ladder, which is pretty cool. Finishing up the build, I got one last thing to show you. For that I'm going to quickly turn off the lights. Ta-da! There's a light brick on the back of the tower, which allows you to light up the actual Eye of Sauron since, well, it's not really glowing otherwise. But as I mentioned, there's one very good use of the nougat and orange bricks in the set, and it's right here. Since the eye doesn't actually emit any light, building the area around it gradually becoming lighter is honestly brilliant. This set, in general, is a structural masterpiece, but is it actually better than Rivendell for the money you're paying? In the end, it always boils down to value. Are you getting better value with this set for $460 or with Rivendell for $500? I have praised the set a lot, and you're getting fantastic value for your money with this set. But it ain't no Rivendell. This set is a 9.5 out of 10 easily, any day of the week. But Rivendell is just a 10 out of 10 set. The interior is really what brings the set down, that tiny bit that Rivendell has over it. Admittedly, they had a way harder job with this set and still made the most of it, so heads off. Also, shout out to Teresa, Inka, Nora, Charlie, Greta, Lily and Janis for helping me buy the set with their birthday presents. Thank you so much. But if you actually want to know what makes Rivendell that great, I recommend you check out this video right here of me reviewing it. If you just want more Lord of the Rings content though, check out this playlist right here, and until next time, goodbye.